Hi, everyone. I'm Janaye Coleman Christopher. I'm the founder of Conch International Film Festival, and I'm happy to share that today is our first ever pitch event. Um, and I would like to say thank you to the panelists who are here today, and I'd like to say thank you to Resorts World for hosting our pitch event. Thanks to them, we are able to do this AV-ish moment with people from California, New York, and Jamaica coming together to support new filmmakers. I'd like to introduce the members of our pitch event panel. Melissa Gelineau. Thank you so much for being here, Melissa. Would you like to say hello to the audience and share a little bit something about yourself?
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here and to hear these wonderful pitches. Very much enjoyed reading the material. It's always great to have a backdrop and to have the material. It makes the pitching easier because you already have so much information. I am currently in Burbank at our offices. I work for Cinema Gypsy Productions, which is Lawrence Fishburne's production company, and we do primarily television, although we do features, podcasts, children's. So we're very eclectic. We're also developing a Broadway musical, but TV is our main focus. And we look for everything we do is character based. We like to think that we are inclusive, but we must always say something that it resonates but in a way that's inclusive. I think I already said that. Sorry about that. That, you're not lecturing people. You want everyone, regardless, to see something in what you're saying. But we are very eclectic as long as it's character based.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa. Next, we have Janaye Coleman. Come on down.
Hi, everyone. Janaye Coleman. I am the founder of Everything Social. I'm super excited to see these pitches today. You guys have done amazing work, and I can't wait to see what you all will be sharing. Thank you for having me, Magali.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Oluwaseun Babalola. I usually call you Seun, so I'm sorry if I'm messing up the proper pronunciation of your beautiful name.
No problem. I like your pronunciation.
Thank you.
I'm Oluwaseun Babalola. I'm based out of New York, and yeah, I'm excited to hear these pitches. I primarily jump from medium to medium, film to television to digital. So I'm yeah, just excited to be here and listen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Sherando Ferril in Jamaica.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello,
Hi,
hello,
everybody.
hello.
All right, I'm so very, very happy to be here. Thank you, Magali, for the invitation. I'm grateful to be a part of this esteemed panel, if you will, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the pitch fest goes because when I was a first-time filmmaker, one of the hardest things, of course, was to figure out how to pitch because you have this beautiful story in your mind, and you may even have gone as far as to put a script together and a pitch deck. And then somebody goes, yes, but the elevator pitch, you have to be able to sell this in 2 minutes. If you don't sell it in 2 minutes, then nobody's interested. And then your heart starts to race. And so I know what these guys are going through. I am an actress myself. The very first year that Kongshell International Film Festival happened, I won the Best Performer Award. So I have history with Conch Shell. Feel free to give me snaps, babies. Okay. And also, I'm CEO of Yardbridge Entertainment. We are one of the leading production companies across the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean. And right now we are working on a feature film called The Jamaican Bodyguard. Hopefully we'll be able to lock in some international cast members, but it's a heavy focus on Jamaican culture with most or 90% of our cast is Jamaican, and everybody on the crew is from Jamaica, and 90% of it is being filmed in Jamaica. And that, of course, is deliberate because we have to be able to create an ecosystem where we can grow our own things. So, when Magali calls us again, we can say, okay, girl, don't worry about it. We can contribute on this level and that level and whatnot. But anyway, Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to what this pitch will bring.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sherando. Steve Harper, come on down.
Thanks. I'm Steve Harper. I am zooming in from Los Angeles, California. I'm a writer, producer, actor, and creativity coach, supporting writers in all sorts of phases of their development. And I was most recently a co-executive producer on the CBS hit Tracker, and actually doing some bit of development with Melissa and people at in their company.
Okay, I like that. I like that
Cinema
bit of
Gypsy.
news.
Yeah, super happy to be here to support you folks and to hear what you've got and to offer you some blessings and support along the way. And what a great opportunity.
Thank you so much, Steve. Next, we have Victoria Isabella.
Hi everyone, I'm Viktoria I.V, also go by Viktoria I.V King. Very happy to be here. I'm a filmmaker, mostly I do narrative. I'm also the president and founder of the Golden Royal Line Films, but I'm also the co-vice president of Panel Network, which is a non-for-profit organization that champions and uplifts and building community for female non-binary filmmakers nationally. So I'm just very happy to be here and excited to see the pictures. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Victoria Isabella. Okay, Thomas Stewart.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas H. Stewart. I'm the owner of the Wazi Group. I'm a freelance producer and editor. I also direct and write. I've been working with Steve Harvey for the last 5 years as an editor for his socials. And now that the strike's over, we're trying to get some more independent films and projects going at the Wazi Group. And so I'm interested in hearing what the pitches are saying.
It's like, well, look at me.
and I've pitched thousands of pitches, and so I completely understand the trauma of walking into a room and not knowing what people are thinking. I want to advise you that we are all people, and we all worked hard to get to where we are. So you will do the same, and we're happy and proud to be a part of this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And now, what you've all been waiting for, I am going to call up Iraisa and Reilly. She's going to be pitching her awesome script, Living with Mi Familia. Come on up, Iraisa. Come on up. Yeah. So I'm going to step away and step off.
All right, can everybody see that and see me? Great. Hello. Thank you so much for listening to my pitch today. My name's Iraisa Ann Reilly. I am a writer and performer, and I'm so excited to tell you this story. So in February of 2017, I stood by my elderly aunt's hospital bed. She'd suffered a massive stroke and fell and broke her arm. It was her third stroke in 5 years, and she was alive by a miracle. A doctor came into her room to test her cognitive capabilities. My aunt is from Cuba, and she never really learned to speak English on a good day, much less this day. But on this day, I stood there by her bed translating for her for this doctor when they asked what year it was, 2017, how old she was, 84. What's the doctor's name? At this point, my aunt was getting very frustrated, and despite the language barrier and the stroke on this day in 2017, loud and clear she answered to the question, what is the doctor's name? Sanamambiche. Luckily, the doctor was understanding, and my aunt was taken to a rehabilitation facility where she would have to undergo physical and speech therapy to learn how to walk and talk again. Sort of. None of the therapists at this facility spoke Spanish, so my mom and I had to take off of work in shifts to be there. Otherwise, therapy was pointless. At the time, I was living at home. I was about to move to New York to pursue a career as an actor full-time. whatever that means. But I couldn't imagine leaving my mom alone to care for her. We weren't going to keep my aunt in a nursing home. Part of Cuban culture is to take care of your elders at home. So I knew I had to stay, but I wondered, is it possible to hold on to my dreams and my culture? I was raised to have big goals, but to put my family first. Can I take care of myself and my family at the same time? These questions and the situation led me to pivot. I started writing more, which is how I come to you today with Living with Mi Familia, a half-hour single cam comedy that follows Latina millennial sisters as they navigate healthcare for their grandparents, their parents' financial inability to retire, and their own crippling student loan debt. It's an immigrant story in the vein of Rami. Is that moving to the next slide? There we go. It's an immigrant story in the vein of Rami with the warm, fuzzy, family-focused social sitcom commentary of Modern Family. The sisters are Pilar and Alejandra McCormick, two millennials that, like me, were raised with two cultures, two languages, and two sets of parents. The world of this show is the McCormick Benya home, where the entire McCormick Benya clan live in a fictitious town called Northfield, Indiana. In their modest suburban home, 3 generations of adults will have to learn how to live together and care for each other to overcome financial hardship and the fact that everyone's aging. This family knows that the only way to survive anything from indigestion to exile is through comedy. Living with Mi Familia will examine the absurdity of the broken healthcare system through the patients and their families that always have to advocate for the bare minimum. It will make jokes out of the joke it already is. And this show will uplift the millennial generation. We were told to follow our dreams, and then when we did, they told us to get a real job. And now our parents are getting older, and so are we. Many millennials have to choose between taking care of the family that we already have or starting one of our own. The show is about people who love each other to a fault. It's about trying to fit a round, family-centric Cuban culture into the square hole that can be American individualism. Our hero is Pilar McCormick. We meet Pilar on her 30th birthday when she'll soon thinks she'll be moving back to New York. She's been back home in Indiana for the last 3 years, helping to care for her grandparents. Pilar got a fancy MFA in photography, and she specialized in street photography because she's the kind of person that can see beauty in piles of garbage, like her ex-boyfriend. Pilar is super smart. She got straight A's and shit. She went to impressive, expensive schools, but her primary source of income comes from Little Johnny's supermarket, where the mascot is a dog named Little Johnny. Working nights and weekends means that Pilar can take care of her grandmother at home during the day. And having a job that you hate makes it really easy to leave that job when the time comes. Like her name, she is the pillar that will uphold her family through hardship. She is not a trained healthcare professional, and she'll constantly wonder if she's the one giving her grandmother the best care, but she also firmly believes that she is the best one to care for her grandmother. I'm the eldest female in my family, which means I ended up being a caretaker, and I often found myself wishing that I had more help. I resented my younger sister for not being present. But the thing is, I don't have a younger sister, so I was resenting someone who wasn't present or didn't even exist. Pilar does have a younger sister we can resent, however, and her name is Alejandra McCormick, but she goes by Allie. Allie has the luxury of assimilation because she was christened with a name that could easily be anglicized. She's American pretty. She's white passing, doesn't speak Spanish as well as Pilar, and she never got the best grades, but she is incredibly emotionally intelligent. She doesn't have to beg for anyone's attention. Her blonde hair made her the envy of the family and the butt of every joke in the family. Allie moved to LA to pursue a career in acting and modeling. She's been away for 5 years, and she usually comes back for special occasions. Allie and Pilar both love and fear their mother, María Elena de la Sagrada Familia Peña McCormick. Maria Elena is the glue that keeps the family fed and in health insurance. She is a disability rights attorney, which means she has half the clout and pay that her parents expected she would, with twice as much work and hardship. Maria Elena always puts her family first. She's serious and stern. She doesn't need anyone's help, and some would call her controlling. But this comes from a lifetime of having to be the one in control, from the person who had to read the electric bill to signing her own permission slips as a kid. Maria Elena is the OG Latina eldest daughter. She wants Pilar and Ali to be self-sufficient. And while her parents would have liked for her to marry a Cuban man, Joe McCormick was the next best thing, Irish Catholic. Joe, Maria Elena's husband, is a dad joke personified. He's a dentist who believes everyone has a right to good teeth, and he's not great about demanding payment from his patients. He can be too nice for his own good, and his dental office is going to need a financial root canal to survive. All he wants for his daughters is for them to find a nice guy. He calls every man a prospective beau. Despite the language barrier, over the past 35 years, Joe has found a way to communicate with his in-laws, who also live with them, Lázaro and Isabel Peña. Lázaro is Pilar and Ali's maternal grandfather. Lázaro and Pilar share a birthday and a cosmic special bond. In Lázaro's eyes, Pilar is perfect, and the feeling is mutual. Lázaro is Pilar's favorite person in the world. He's the kind of guy who can fix anything from a leaky faucet to a bad day. He's always able to find the good in any situation. 50 years ago, he left Cuba and came to the US to start all over again. And in the pilot, it's the first time Pilar sees her grandfather cry. Everything is sunny for Lázaro as long as all is well with his wife, Isabel. Isabel Peña never really learned how to speak English, and she's always been in poor health because she's been suffering from chronic homesickness for about 50 years. For as long as they can remember, Isabel has been telling her family that one day she will die and they are going to miss her. Isabel is, however, a true matriarch. She carries the weight of the world and the worry of the family on her shoulders so that no one else has to. Isabel never got used to living in the United States, and she thinks the only good thing about this country is Richard Gere. Yes, Isabel has the hots for Richard Gere, and all she wants is for her granddaughters to find a man that looks like Richard Gere. In the pilot, she finds Pilar a Richard Gere that she approves of, and his name is Eric. He's the hot physical therapist who works at Lakeside Manor, the rehabilitation facility where there's no lake and little manners. Eric was a quarterback, but a career-ending shoulder injury introduced him to the world of physical therapy. In the pilot, we learned that he and Pilar have a lot in common. He's a caretaker for his younger siblings, and he doesn't get upset when Isabel calls him Eddie instead of Eric. While most family sitcoms explore families as they transition from childhood to high school to adulthood, Living with Mi Familia is going to capture a family's transition from adulthood to old age. But because this is a mixed immigrant family, it's also exploring a family's transition and becoming more American. What are the values, traditions, and experiences that continue to become important to us as time passes, and what are we forced to let go of? As people die, what part of the old country dies with them, for better or worse? All big, serious issues and questions, right? But in this the serious issues and questions are gold mines for comedy. Like the cold open of our pilot, for example, takes place where all good American stories begin, in the diaper section at Walmart. Pilar has been sent to the store to get the good diapers along with other geriatric provisions. She heads to the self-checkout line, juggling adult diapers, Miralax, Ensure nutrition shakes, when she spots a hot guy in front of her in line. I probably should have gotten a cart, she says, smiling. He ignores her. She notices what she's ringing up, and as he hurries away, she tries to explain, saying, no, wait, these aren't for me. But he's already gone. Today is Pilar's 30th birthday, It's the day her younger sister, Allie, has agreed to move back and take over caretaking responsibilities. Allie arrives from LA forgetting half of her Spanish and with big, exciting news. She just booked a role in a film with Abuela's favorite actor, Richard Gere. Pilar loses her proverbial shit and screams at Allie, and the two women are arguing, but they're finally silenced when their grandmother faints and suffers a massive stroke. Now, the stroke doesn't kill Isabel, but it does send her to an inpatient rehabilitation facility. And since no one there speaks Spanish, someone will have to be present for all of her therapy sessions. Maria Elena is in the middle of a huge case at work, which means, of course, that Pilar has to step up to the plate again. But this time, the views at Lakeside Manor have gotten better. Eric, the hottie, who also was the guy in front of her at Walmart, is the hot physical therapist, which is equal parts embarrassing and lucky. Everything about Eric is perfect, including his girlfriend, Kelsey, the speech therapist. But before the stroke took Abuela's ability to speak, she did always say, todo es justo en el amor y la guerra, which means all is fair in love and war. In the morning, Pilar drives her grandfather to the rehab facility, and at night, she picks him up when visiting hours end. Pilar finds him asleep by Isabel's bedside, holding her hand. He's decorated her room with some modest items from home, a bouquet of flowers, a statue of the Virgin Mary, a prayer candle, and a giant Cuban flag. Pilar snaps a photo of the scene before waking her grandfather to drive him home. Allie goes back to LA because Indiana is starting to look like on Golden Pond, if the Fondas were Cuban. Late one night, Pilar looks at the picture she took and enters it into a competition for Indiana photographers. She's accepted her role as permanent caretaker when there's a knock at the door. Allie, in tears. She was lying about the gig with Richard Gere, and the truth is she's been evicted from her apartment. But Pilar already made up her mind about staying, for now. And after all, Pilar speaks better Spanish, and there's the hot physical therapist named Eric. Over the course of season 1, the family will have to learn to live together and take care of each other. Pilar will be by her grandmother's side every day, finding their way to laugh through tears and making herself and her grandmother feel more at home. Like in one episode, she and Isabel will start an underground operation selling Cuban food to the other patients in the nursing home, because let's face it, nursing home food sucks. And another episode, Pilar is going to start a side hustle, taking glamour shots of all the old ladies on the floor. She'll help her grandfather, Lázaro, get work as a handyman at the rehabilitation facility because he never really got used to retirement, but he also was never officially hired by the nursing home. Pilar will start to learn that she wasn't unhappy living at home. She just needed to let go of a version of her life that didn't exist anymore. We'll follow her as she accepts her current state of affairs, but continues to look towards the future with hope. And of course, as she continues to fall for Eric. Allie gets a job as a receptionist at their dad's dental office, and she'll try to help Joe get organized and demand payment from patients. She starts a marketing campaign that attracts clientele with dental insurance. And Maria Elena continues to work her ass off as a public interest lawyer as she advocates for people with disabilities. She'll start to realize she never wanted to be a caretaker and she wasn't very good at it. But when Joe suggests putting her in a nursing home full time, she forces him to sleep outside so that he can better understand the refugee experience. But she does wonder if she is making the right decision. In the final episode of season 1, Pilar wins the competition, which means she gets to go to New York for a showing. It's Isabel's last day at Lakeside Manor, and she's going to tell Eric how she feels when Kelsey comes in gushing about Eric's proposal and showing off her engagement ring. Pilar hides her feelings and calls her ex-boyfriend to tell him that she'll be back in town. But in season 2, all roads lead back to Indiana, and she finds an outlet teaching photography classes at a local senior center. She starts a wedding photography business, and the first person to call her is Kelsey for Kelsey and Eric's wedding. Allie gets a job singing cabaret afternoons at the senior center, which ultimately puts them in direct competition for best well-attended afternoon activity. In the final episode of season 2, Pilar gets drunk and tells Eric how she feels. Will he go through with the wedding? Will Pilar ever be able to afford a place of her own? Will they ever pay off their student loans for 2 professions that make little to no money? And ultimately, will the Pena McCormick family survive? Because this is a show about aging, the elders will eventually have to die off, but will not come until season 4. Pilar and Allie will have to wrestle with the fact that they are getting older, and if the family is to continue, that's up to them. But they can also decide and define what family means. Each episode will examine how simple everyday life issues can become comedic and catastrophic. The McCormick Pena family will be able to come anything from buying groceries to installing a wheelchair ramp with a little grace, a lot of heart, and a lot of comedy. So you might be wondering why this is significant now. Well, I read this article in the New York Times that says millennials and Gen Zers are moving in with their grandparents. This phenomenon, as they call it, helps the greatest generation combat loneliness and their grandchildren combat homelessness. But the thing is I was living with my family before it was cool. Over the course of about 10 years, I moved back home several times to help care for elder family members. And the more I learned about a healthcare system that's broken, the more I felt the need to protect my family members who were vulnerable due to age, illness, and the fact that they were immigrants who didn't speak English. And nursing homes just felt like ultimate assimilation. And in that time, I learned how broken the system is, how it favors people of social classes, and how everybody in a nursing home is vulnerable, regardless of anything, but especially people of color and those who don't speak English. There were moments that were both tragic and hilarious. Like one time, I almost got kicked out of the nursing home because I yelled at a doctor. And then another time, the only thing my aunt would say loud and clear in English were curse words. Anytime I saw caretaking portrayed in TV, it was sad. People being cared for are portrayed as a burden, and those that take care of them are portrayed as martyrs that give up on everything. And anybody who moves back home with their parents, it's because they had some sort of fall from grace. But I didn't see anyone who, like me, made a choice to be a caretaker, but held on to their dreams and goals at the same time. And in that process, maybe found a version of their life that was better than what they had imagined. The pandemic revealed a lot about the broken healthcare system, and our economy is such that people have to rely on family, both chosen and blood, in order to get by from day to day. People used to tell me that taking care of my family was going to interfere with my career, and they were absolutely right, it did. It inspired 10 years worth of stories to tell. And for those millennials and Gen Zers that are just discovering this as they move in with their grandparents, I'd like to create a show that they can laugh and cry and relate to. So thank you so much for listening to my pitch today.
Awesome, fantastic. All right, so can you all hear me? Can everyone hear me? Great.
We're hearing you through her microphone, so unmute yours, please.
So I'm going close to the microphone. You stay on camera.
Okay.
This is your moment. Oh. So let's start off with Thomas Stewart. Would you like to share thoughts, notes, questions? If you don't, that's okay as well.
No, I think that was a good story. I love stories that tell your story. You know, we believe that everyone has a story to tell, no matter who it is, and anything that's personal is always touching, and we can always relate to it. Another thing is your angle into the Cuban world. That's something that I don't think I've seen on U.S. television, at least. So I think that that's a very strong storyline, and I'm interested. I like to hear more about it and see where it goes and follow it at least. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think that's it's not, that storyline is just not heard of, especially the blended family. That's also very intriguing.
Thank
Well
you so
done.
much. I'm sorry, Thomas, you were about to say something.
I'll just finish off by saying, well done, well done.
Thank you so much. Victoria Isabella, would you like to share a question or a comment?
No, it's great. It's just when it's so random and it's like, and it's you and you're on. It's great. Um, I thought it was really great. I'm part Dominican, so I know exactly what you mean about the blended family. I'm also multi-ethnic as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and the caretaking sort of aspect of it, because it is something that um is not burdensome, it's something that is part of sort of the culture and the traditions, and it's really rich. I think there's a couple of things though I was interested in and or had questions about. It felt like um the photography aspect was kind of an afterthought. And I was wondering if that's something that can be really plugged in a bit more earlier. Um, because it will be great to have her really find that passion and know that it is a passion as opposed to just a happenstance. Do you know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So
Yeah.
that is for you, what you're saying is that you still manage to achieve your dreams. And so for her to have some semblance of that, I think would be amazing. Um, the other thing I thought was really interesting is I've seen versions of the sad version of what you're pitching is, there's also Viva, there's so many kind of TV shows that have to do with people coming back home, and it is sad. But I do love the fact that you're going with heart and you're going with comedy and leaning into that. Um, I also feel like if there's a way to sort of not just have it be the language barrier, but also just be like family and love, as to why like we see all these characters coming together. It feels like they're all there because they have to be, and their worlds are sort of um surrounding and colliding within each other. But it would be great if we can just for that heart, because you pitch a lot of comedy and that's amazing, but it would be great for us to see that heart, for us to see that love and be like, okay, I'm gonna come home or I'm gonna check in just because I want to. I think there's a lot of promise. And I was visualizing it as you were pitching it. I also went through your materials. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now, but I probably have more to say. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Victoria Isabella. Steve, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes. So first of all, congratulations. I feel like there's so much life in your pitch, and I'm really excited about the way you sort of bring your humanity and your experience into this space. So A+ for that. It's really emotionally clear. I do think in terms of opportunities, I feel like there's a way that you can do that once, right? You mentioned your experience at the top of the pitch, and you came back to it at the end. I feel like once is good. You set the table for us, and you don't necessarily need to go back to that kind of space. I always feel like for me, and I know there are a lot of shows that feel like they do this, but for me, there's only one protagonist in a TV story. And so you've got Pilar, and I would just focus on her. Obviously, you're going to mention the other characters, but I feel like as you mention the other characters, you might think about doing that all as they relate to Pilar. Like the grandmother means this to Pilar, and the dad means this to Pilar, and the sister means this to Pilar, and all of that, and just really focus it in that space. I would also suggest that since your subject matter is juicy and a bit heavy, that you really want to lean into comedy as much as possible. As you were talking about your family's circumstance and situation, it took a while to get to the notion of what is funny about the space. And I would just, do whatever you can to sort of do a pass where you just lean into as much humor as much of the time as soon as possible so that we get the tone and the energy of comedy, comedy, comedy. And then the last thing is really to hint at the pilot and then give us the journey. Like for the whole series, it's going to be about this. Like you told us a fair amount. You told us actually a lot in my memory anyway, a lot of what's in the pilot. I think you can just sort of set up, there's a way to kind of telescope that and then say, and then she's on this journey where the challenge and the struggle for Pilar is this, this, and this, and this. And we're going to see how she navigates it all. And the last thing I would say about that piece is I try to stay away from in a pitch saying, in the end, he's going to be blah, blah, blah. Because I feel like the whole purpose of watching drama as a human being is to ask myself, oh my God, what would I do then? And how is she going to solve it? And if you tell us that it's all going to work out, then for me, I'm kind of like, oh, well, it's all going to work out. I don't necessarily need to watch.
Right.
So those things, but I think great opportunities, terrific storytelling, and very emotionally grounded.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. And Sherando.
Yes, thank you, Steve, for looking at my notes and speaking about what I had written. You're such a cheat, Anyway, great storytelling approach. I think the fact that you told it from Pilar / your perspective made it more interesting, because I felt like whilst I was getting to learn about Pilar, I was learning more about you, which makes it interesting for me because I'm hearing your voice. And in hearing your voice, whilst I'm seeing Pilar's image, I'm now automatically merging both of them. And it made it interesting. And what also added to that was when you kind of took us out of it, when you said that, well, Pilar blames her little sister. I didn't have a little sister to blame. So it reminded us that you were talking about two different people, but almost the same person. It was interesting for me in terms of that. You told your personal story twice, as Steve had said. And for me, in the beginning, I was interested, curious. I was hoped you got me, because I felt like one of my first questions whenever I'm being pitched to is, what is your personal connection to this particular story that you're telling? Everybody has a story, but as a storyteller, how can you take from your own true experience and then infuse that into the stories you're telling? That then makes for far more compelling stories, because life in and of itself has so much drama, right? So you got me in the beginning. By the time you went through the story, I started to lose interest because you were now repeating yourself. So just be careful on that. Last thing you want to do is to have the person you're pitching to kind of zone out on you, aside from the fact that I have a short attention span, but just be careful of that as well. When talking about the additional episodes, focus less on the additional characters and more about the stories and how they affect your protagonist. So it's the situations and how it affects Pilar and what she's going through versus all of these other people and all of their other stories, because their stories will naturally feed into her journey. But it's more about what is the story that you're telling and how then are we going to get ourselves attached to Pilar, wanting to learn more about her. We care about her. We don't want her to lose. We want her to win. So what are the situations that she gets herself into? That is far more interesting, because in the beginning, you've already given us a hint as to who these characters are. So a little bit of it can be us imagining how they would play into her role, into her world rather, once you tell us the situations that she'll be exposed to. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Melissa.
Hi. Well, first, thank you. That was really engaging and I will say relatable. It is a story that I think, regardless of ethnicity, people get that. And my notes are very similar to Steve in that, and Sherando's in that the personal at the beginning is great because that resonates. You understand that. And then you want to talk about the show and our main character, Pilar. I think that in what they said, what needs to be done and highlights is, what is the story engine? You really want to get clear that Pilar is the story engine and she is the A story. How does an episode week to week work. Wasn't sure that I got that. And is there a B story? Because the other characters are more the B story. At the end, like has been mentioned, instead of once again talking about the personal, I think the ending should be tightened and make clear why now, because obviously there are issues that relate to now. And I think what happened is it got very, very heavy as opposed to leaning into the comedy about all the problems, social issues. You want to hide it. You want to hide that these are social issues, and it did not necessarily feel hidden. And the culture, all the stuff that you spoke about in the pitch, what's really great, did not see that in the script or the pages. And that's the risk one runs when you do have material, because you want to make sure that character traits, story issues, beats are somewhat at least introduced in the pilot. You know, with the mom, I didn't get that she was an alpha mom and everyone was afraid of her. That didn't come through. And that is key. Same thing with the dad. I mean, I knew there were financial problems, but not that he didn't collect payment. So you want to be able to look, a pilot is it's the hardest thing to write, because you have to set up the characters and the world and make that clear. So if there's a way to just slowly put in the crumbs, this show has the potential to be like the original Roseanne, which I will say I actually worked on. And I think that is a show that really was a grounded, character-driven comedy. And the humor was found within the hardships and, positives and everything in that family. And that's what this is, because it is a multi-generational family who have ups and downs, and they're just trying to survive. And of course, at the end of it, everyone gets that they love one another. And I think that does come through, but you want to make sure that you lace the hardships with comedy so it doesn't feel like medicine. Let me see if there was anything else. But I think that if you tighten the script, make sure we get what the A story is, what the B story is, and what the story engine is, and why now it's important to tell this story, and just how relatable it is to everyone. But nice job. It's a really cool world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Janaye, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, my notes echo everyone's. When I think about it, I always think of it in terms of creating a pitch deck, and how, like, you did an amazing job telling the story. Listening to you, I was able to follow along, but like everyone else said, it kind of gets a little, I think you can define more her hero journey, because in the beginning you mentioned that she's a hero, but with every episode and seeing that this is something that you see worth 10 seasons, we're following through her throughout her life. How is she winning, or what obstacle is she facing each episode? And then the other note that I had, you did mention her little sister Allie. What I would be interested in seeing there is their rivalry. Like, they do have love for each other, but at the same time, in my mind, I imagine something of Allie still reminding Pilar that it's still possible for you to chase your dreams. Like, I'm not the villain. Like, you just have to put yourself first, in what that could look like with her family dynamic. Like, yes, you are there to support your family, but how, I believe it was Viktoria that mentioned it, but her in photography, like, what does that look like in each episode? Like, is she being introduced to an opportunity to where, like, hey, can you come shoot, like, or she's doing family photos one day in one episode. Like, what does that look like for her? And reminding her that she still has this dream that she wants to chase outside of it, showcasing the hardships that she dealt with growing up. I mean, living with her family and having to take care of her elders, her relatives. So, yeah, but I really enjoyed your storytelling. I enjoyed the heart behind it. To what everyone said, the second time you mentioned why it's a personal story and what it meant to you, I would love to see that part at the front. Maybe combine, just tweak what you have at the front, because the second half of why it's important, the article you mentioned about grandmates, that was personal to me. Even though I live out here, my cousins call me and tell me all the time about living with grandma and what she's been up to, and so there is comedy behind it. It's definitely relatable. It definitely pulls at the heartstrings, and I would love to see how the story develops.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Janaye. Seun.
Hi. It's so hard going last because everybody said what I was going to say. But I'll try not to repeat anything.
Okay.
So I thought you did a fantastic job. It painted a much clearer picture to me than the script. It just seemed like you were just so immersed in this world because this is your world. And I love that, a lot of immigrant stories are American stories, so it's very incredibly relatable in that regard. And I love that you included like social dynamics of like not just being America, but Cuban culture and like the little sister and how she's kind of revered, but because she's the blonde one and things like that, the golden child. And lastly, I love that it's about aging because I think that's a very scary topic for a lot of people. And so the fact that you're bringing comedy to it is really fantastic. And I feel like there's just so much potential with that to have so many conversations. But one thing that really did stick out to me is that I think it was mentioned before with everyone is that Pilar, I didn't get you mentioned like the things that she does throughout the season, even up to season 2. I didn't see much growth or what she was going to be going through, what she wanted. Does she actually, because it seemed like there wasn't that much conflict. It seemed like she wanted to stay in Indiana a little bit. And so I didn't really see what she was wrestling with from episode to episode, from season to season, because it seems like she loves supporting her family. So how is she going to interpret her dream in that sense? I just didn't get her growth journey with that. But outside of that, I thought it was great. I won't repeat what anything else said, but I really enjoyed it, and I would love to watch it because it's very relatable. Especially, I'm taking care of aging parents as well, so totally.
Thank you.
And Victoria, you said you had one more note.
Yes. So thank you. It's annoying because I went first and then all of you just like said greatness and now I gotta come back for the mic drop. Okay. Just a couple of things, adding to all of my colleagues here. So one thing with you mentioned a lot about speaking Spanish and how there's just that language barrier. It's not just the language barrier, right? It's also cultural differences. I think that is something much more full of depth and heart to be able to explore just the cultural difference, the generational difference, all of these things. I feel like there are so many opportunities that feel like onions, in this where you pull it back and there's another layer and a layer and a layer and a layer. Which is amazing because that means that you just have gold here. It's just about shaping it into the right way. Another thing is more than her just wanting a guy. That was like season 2. It's like, oh, well, when you see me, it's like you set her up to be such a fully fledged, beautiful woman, right? Especially you mentioned that she's 30 years old over and over and over again. And I like to think in 2024, from here on forward, our whole purpose, unless you're a child wife, is not just surrounding men. Men are great. They're amazing. But let that be a subplot. Let that be, the icing or a candle on a cake. The career through family was my second to last point. career through family. I'd like to see hints of what her life was like prior to coming back. You know, maybe she had a passion and she wanted to do this, and maybe it wasn't really working. It just wasn't right. No one was caring. And then through the photography, through being with her family, she's able to find these opportunities and have it grow. And then it's kind of like her dream is tied to her family. That makes it so much easier and better as to why she wants to stay, because she's like, there's stories here and I can just document this. And then who knows what this can turn into, et cetera, et cetera. The very last thing I would say, I love that we're having the prize of a pitch deck, but I really encourage you to um if you get access to this recording, I encourage you to almost like write down a transcript of everything that you just said. If you have it written, amazing. But understand that there's so much that you said that is giving more weight than what the than what's the pitch deck is that you showed us, and you want that to be in alignment, because the pitch deck is just showing me little things and I have to wait for you to explain them in order for me to know, and I just want to be able to see it and know automatically, and then want to listen to you to be like, oh, that's the extra context and extra details. So I think you can really explore the sort of visual aspect of this story, and use the pitch deck to do so. So thank you. That's my mic drop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that amazing mic drop. So raise your hand if you feel you want to mentor. I know this is weird and embarrassing, but raise your hand if you feel you'd like to mentor Iraisa and as she continues working on her pitch deck. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 1, 2. Now, Iraisa and you have a few minutes, not even more than a few minutes to process this. Write down the names of the people who said they want to mentor you. Did you see the hands that went up? Put your hands up again. Put your hands up again. There you go. And process it. And we'll come back to you at the end. Thank you so much. And so, clapping. These notes are amazing. I felt like I was winning $1 billion notes left and right. Bitcoin. So, okay. So we're going to start off with our writers announcing, well, Iraisa announcing which of the amazing mentor offers she will be accepting.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously either, I'm not even looking in the camera. Either would be great, but Viktoria Isabella, you offered notes twice. So I would love to work with you. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Very good choice.
And I accept Sharonda's mentorship as well. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. And there's a lot more that will come with me.
Fantastic.
Ready for you. Ready.
Good.
And now that you've conferred with each other, you may now announce who the winner of the prizes. Come on, ladies.
Dun, 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 dun. Steve, do you want to go ahead? I volunteer Steve. because of the shine that's coming off of your head. I volunteer you.
Oh, wow. So we have decided as a group that the winner for this particular moment is Iraisa.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we all thank you. Oh, I'm not even on camera. We're all thanking you so much for taking this time. And the notes, what were those notes?
Great.
You're like,
Thank you.
Gotta write down notes. And you'll be getting the video and you're going to get big hearts. Thank you so much for changing these two women's lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Have a beautiful, beautiful day.
All right, take
You
care,
as
everybody.
well, everyone.
Bye.
We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great one.
Congratulations. Bye.
Bye.